Good evening to everybody listening to our podcast this evening. My name is ProTipster Martin, and this evening I've got with me ProTipster Dan.
Hi there.
And ProTipster Tom.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
It's a regular feature now, every Friday or before the Premier League begins on a weekend. We have a little chat, talk about some stats and predictions for the games ahead. So let's get started for this weekend. We'll start with our game of the week. We've been talking about it all week. It's Manchester United against Spurs. Now, guys, what are you thinking about this one? This is, well, today's escapades from Pochettino and his chat in a press conference. It's thrown a few spanners in the works, isn't it?
Yeah, Harry Kane being injured is a big blow for our Spurs. You know, I know that Pochettino has bristled in the past when Guardiola said that Spurs were a Harry Kane team, but he's a massive miss for them. I was just going to say, you know, I think Pochettino, he said that he could play on Saturday, but, you know, that they needed more for Wednesday, so it's like...
The thing is, he's got a hamstring injury, isn't he? So you don't want to risk... You can't risk a tight hammy, otherwise it will completely go.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, for me, that's huge. No Harry Kane. I'm in agreement with a few people that say that Spurs aren't a team without Harry Kane. And yeah, they've got quality all over the pitch, don't get me wrong. However, they've got to find someone to bang in the goals. Yeah, Dele Alli and Eriksen could step up, but it's going to be tough if they play Llorente up top on his own, or they might even stick Son up, or play both. But I'm not sure that's going to be enough against United. And for me, with the news that Harry Kane's not playing, I was thinking it might be a draw before that, but I'm actually gone for the Manchester United win at home at odds of 2.11 on ProTipster. I've probably gone down since then. But yeah, I managed to get 2.11. And stats-wise, you know, Spurs have lost 20 of the last 25 away trips to Old Trafford. So that's not great. And Pochettino's actually lost more games against Mourinho than any other manager.
You took the stat out of my mouth. It's funny, actually.
Be aware of the Spurs away record this season and generally how they play away from home. I know Harry Kane is obviously a big blow. They will miss him vastly. I mean, it's a huge absence for them to have such a player sidelined. But all in all, I think they have what it takes to make it a very tough one for United. We have to have in mind that both teams play Champions League in midweek as well. And both teams, especially Spurs, have a tough game against Madrid. So I personally think that we won't see too many goals in this game, especially after United lost last week at Huddersfield. So they'll be very determined to jump back with a positive result. However, they have to be aware of the offensive qualities of Spurs. Without Kane, we're leaning towards very few goals in this game. So I have less than 2.5 goals and 1.63.
See, I'm in absolute agreement with Tom, and it's exactly the same bet I've gone for, under 2.5 goals at 1.63. I was reading through one of the Man United forums, and it's funny that, you know, people say Spurs is a Harry Kane team. Man United fans going on about that they're not the same team without Paul Pogba, and how much they miss him, and how they're not happy with their attacking, despite having like Martial, Rashford, Lukaku, Lingard scoring a couple in midweek. They're not happy with it. There's loads of Man United fans for some reason are unhappy with Mourinho, which I don't quite get. And I just think it's going to be. I think it'll be a draw, like a 0-0 or a 1-1, but under 2.5 goals. That's where my money's going.
Do we know how long Paul Pogba's out for still? Because I've seen videos of him this week of him in training, looking like he's ready to come back.
I don't think they'll risk him for this one. They need him for the Champions League, so that's what I think it's one of those where they won't risk him for this one, and they'll bring him back to the Champions League.
Yeah. Okay. So although you both say under 2.5 goals, have you got a preference as to who might edge it?
I'm going for the draw.
My personal prediction is 1-0 for United.
Okay. Interesting. All right, guys, moving on. At the Emirates now, let's move to the Emirates. It's Swansea visiting Arsenal this weekend. What are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, stat time. Swansea have the second best record for a Premier League team at the Emirates.
They do.
Yeah, astonishing record at the Emirates.
Behind Chelsea.
Yeah, against an Arsenal side that 100% record at home. So something's got to give, hasn't it? I watched Swansea against Man U in midweek in the Cup. And I know it's different teams because it's the Carabao Cup, but Swansea just didn't look at the races. But then again, I also caught quite a bit of the Arsenal game in midweek in the game. Yeah, I know it's a different team, but my God, they really didn't look at the races. They could have Shkodran Mustafi back. I was interested actually. They asked Wenger about Eddie Nketiah and about Reece Nelson, Maitland-Niles, etc. And Wenger said, this is the best youth group, best group of young players I've had for a long time. They're playing consistently well, getting consistent results. I have to integrate them into the first team. And he's kind of hinted that we might see more of Nketiah sooner rather than later. So that's a really interesting thing because, you look at some of the Arsenal players that aren't quite performing this year. And I think Wenger's saying to them, you don't buck up. I've got some kids who are ready to step in and take the shirt off you. Which, it's got to be good news. But I don't know. I can't see Arsenal ripping Swansea apart. And so I've gone for the Asian handicap on this, but I've gone for Swansea +2 at 1.78 because I don't think Arsenal are going to win by more than 2 goals. I think they'll win, but I think it'll be by the odd one.
Yeah, interesting.
First time this evening I'm going against Dan, not surprisingly. Of the schedule. My view on this game, I can't. Is completely different to Dan's. I can't see Swansea taking anything from Arsenal. Swansea, I'm not. I don't fancy them how they played this season at all. I'm not a big fan of Arsenal how they perform, but they played. I saw bits and pieces from the Everton game last week. Was pretty good from their side, especially the goal. They scored enough goals.
Yeah.
For this game, I couldn't find a value on the different markets. So what I scrolled through and found something that I fancy can easily happen, and that's Arsenal to score more than 2 goals, so more than 2.5 goals, and the odds were 1.74. I'm not. Yeah, I see something like 3-1 for Arsenal. To be honest, it's the first team was rested in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah,
midweek, so they've got fresh players. Swansea, I don't know. I think they had better seasons than this one.
For sure, they haven't started very well.
I still consider them somehow to be better at home than away. Although you guys said that they have quite a good record in the Emirates, but at the moment, I can't see them very close away to Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can understand why you guys have gone for what you've gone for. I expect Arsenal to win the game. However, looking for a little bit of value, I've actually gone just based on the stats over the last few games between the two sides. I've gone for both teams to score at 1.86. I mean, Swansea have only failed to score in one of the last 8 visits to the Emirates. And, I know they're not in great form. However, I'm very impressed with Tammy Abraham. And I think if he gets a chance, he could well take it. He scored the most goals for Swansea. He's had the most shots. He's had the most shots on target. So if he gets a chance, then Swansea could easily score at the Emirates. So that's where I've gone, 1.86. But I fully expect Arsenal to win the game. Just depends how they are defensively. Ozil was class against Everton. So, he created the most assists and chances in the Premier League, I think, since his debut or something silly. So if he's on form again, then Arsenal could run riot, but I still think they're not watertight at the back, and Swansea could easily score a goal, even if it's like 4-5-1. I'll be happy because my bet's come in. All right, moving on to the biggest game of the weekend, guys. It's Crystal Palace against West Ham at Selhurst Park.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I've got a question for you, actually, Martin. Based on the performance
for Martin after last week. Go on, mate.
Based on the performance midweek, would you bring Joe Hart back into the team, or would you leave Adrian in goal?
See, I'd personally leave Adrian in goal. I've always loved Adrian. I don't mind Joe Hart either, to be honest, but I've always been a lover of Adrian, and even when Randolph took Adrian's place midway through last season, I thought that was a bad decision. I love the guy. I think he's a class keeper, and I've got a guy that supports Real Betis, one of my mates, and he loves Adrian too. He was amazing for Betis, and he's so underrated. And you could tell him midweek some of the saves he pulled off were top class, and you have to argue whether Joe Hart is any better than Adrian at the moment. And I'd have to say no. So, based on the second half performance in midweek, I would keep Adrian in goal, but I know that's probably not going to happen.
That's why I asked the question. I was reading Knees Up Mother Brain, the West Ham fan site, and the amount of West Ham fans saying about how, Hart should be left out of the team, that Adrian should be left in, which I've got to say I agree with. A lot of people saying that they would want to stick with the same team as well, that beat Spurs midweek. And I can understand that too. Went on the Palace forum, the Homesdale end, the fear. I've got it written down in capital letters here, fear. That they're already playing really badly under Roy Hodgson. They can't see where a point's coming from. And I've got to be honest, normally I would back West Ham to win, but I think this is going to be a bit of a drudgy game. And I think West Ham are going to probably nick it by the odd goal. So I'm going under 2.5 at 1.68 on this one.
Interesting.
Okay.
What are you thinking, Tom?
It's a difficult game to call. Crystal Palace, obviously, their confidence must be really low, given their results, even with that exceptional win against Chelsea. Was it 2 weeks ago? Still without Benteke up front. I think, I don't think expect too much to the midweek games, guys. Well, in a sense you can, but talking about who can start from those players that played in midweek, but obviously the teams were changed pretty much.
True, but I mean, they got absolutely battered by Bristol City, even though, they made some changes. You've got to look at that and think that.
I just think that it's a completely different competition, and also the motivation for some of the teams for the League Cup. It's not its highest peak and so on. This is like Premier League, which is completely different. Anyway, I think the quality or even the confidence, even despite what happened last week, should be on West Ham side. But again, they were so unpredictable so far this season and so inconsistent. It's so hard to call. But I've looked through the market, and I found one offer that stands out for me. That's the 0 Asian handicap, so it's like Toronto bet. And I've gone for West Ham Toronto bet at 2.15.
Interesting. That's pretty good. Well, I think you probably guessed what I've gone for before I've even said it. I've actually gone for a West Ham win at 3.19, which I think is cracking value, considering we've never lost to Crystal Palace under Slaven Bilic. 1-3, drawn 1. We've had some cracking wins recently at Selhurst Park as well. We won 1-0 there last season, and then I think a couple of seasons before that, 2 3-1 wins before that. Lanzini's on fire against Palace. He seems to always score against Palace. He scored 4 in 4. So if you want to bet on, anybody listening, if you want to bet this weekend, probably get on Lanzini to score any time, if I'm honest. Yeah, 9 of his last 14 goals have actually come in London derbies as well. So I'm going for a West Ham win. You're right in what you say. Palace, void of confidence is, I don't know what's gone wrong there, but a change of manager doesn't seem to have made any difference. I think the win they got against Chelsea was very lucky. Like you mentioned, Tom, no Benteke either. He's still out for a while, I think. So that's going to be a problem for them. I just think with the confidence from our second half performance, I don't think we'll make too many changes. I think we made 9 or something like that going into the Spurs game. Certainly don't think we're going to make 9 going into the Palace game from that. So be interesting to see who keeps their place. But West Ham to win for me at 3.19. Right, let's go to Anfield. Liverpool welcome Huddersfield. What are you thinking, guys?
It's sorry, I'll let you go first this time, Tom, if you want.
That's fine. Liverpool last week against Spurs. I've seen the whole game, I think. And it's the same. They had the same issues that we were talking about for a few weeks now. Defensively, they were just terrible. Lovren was absolutely bad. Sorry for the guy because he was really trying to do his best, but it just didn't work out. I read somewhere that he's likely to start, which not sure if it's a good idea. It must be looked at that they play Huddersfield, which comes after a great win against United, so they will be their spirits will be high. And nevertheless, Liverpool it's one of those games that I feel that Liverpool need to win. I mean, they're winless in last 3 games in the league. This is the kind of games you need to win to get back, to get confident and keep going for rest of the season.
Yeah.
See, the only chance I see for Huddersfield is to play really well defensively. If they can keep clean sheet for as long as possible, then Liverpool might struggle. But at the same time be dangerous in the counter attacks, because we have seen on so many occasions how Liverpool defense can allow chances and, let's say, easy goals at some point in the games. So let me just scroll through where I have the prediction which I've picked for this one. Where is the Liverpool game? Yeah. So I've gone for a goals market again.
Okay.
And it's less than 3.5 goals and 1.62. So yeah, I expect Liverpool to win. But yeah, it's not gonna be they're not gonna crash Huddersfield. So something like 2-0.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you there. The fact that I don't know whether Coutinho is going to play or not. Some people say he's out. Some people say he's going to be fit for the game. So it'll be interesting to see whether he starts. Obviously, Mane is still injured. I think Liverpool will win, but I just don't see Huddersfield rolling over. Like you say, they got a great win against United last time out. And I like Aaron Moy in the centre of the park. He's sort of like the heartbeat of the Huddersfield side at the minute. He's in great form. And if he's on form once again this weekend, I just don't see Liverpool are great going forward, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see them banging in a load of goals against Huddersfield. Especially, I mean, even defensively, Liverpool are struggling. So Huddersfield have got a great chance of scoring the odd goal. But one stat that took my eye, which made me doubt what I've gone for, is the fact that Liverpool have only lost once in the last 42 home games against a promoted side, which is incredible. Can anyone guess who that loss was against?
Was it West Ham United?
No, it wasn't actually. It was actually Blackpool in 2010. But yeah, that's an incredible stat, and I don't see that stat changing. I think Liverpool will win, but my bet for this one, I've actually gone for Huddersfield +2 on the Asian handicap at 1.75. So Huddersfield not to lose by 3 or more, which, yeah, I think can easily come in.
Yeah, I've gone through exactly the same bet. Exactly the same bet. Jurgen Klopp's a manager, I think, under a bit of pressure. I'll be against his best mate, David Wagner. Liverpool have got a really strange record. They've won once in the last 6 in the Premier League, but they've not lost at home in the Premier League since April. So they draw a lot of games. Lovren, there's been a lot of talk about him. He's needing injections to keep playing, painkilling injections. The reason for that is Liverpool literally don't have anyone else.
What about
except for Ragnar Klavan, who I think Liverpool fans are trying to forget they've got at the moment. I don't know what he's done, but I think I've got more chance of playing than Ragnar Klavan at the moment. And it's really bad because they've got Joe Gomez, but Joe Gomez is coming back from injury. They've got 3 games in a week, and they don't want to play him in all 3. So you look at their defence. They've got Matip, who had a crap game as well last week.
Yeah.
Mignolet will probably play, but I don't think he's been great. Karius certainly isn't, and their third keeper is also injured now. So, they've got real problems. Real problems. And Huddersfield, so they've only won twice in the Premier League all season, but that win against Man United was huge. And unlike you, I agree. I love Aaron Moy. I remember seeing him last year in the Championship. He's a great player.
Yeah.
Fantastic player. So, I think it's one of those games where if Huddersfield can hold tight at the back, frustrate Liverpool, get the crowd on the back of Klopp, then maybe they'll get something, but +2 Asian handicap just seems like a bit of a cert, so that's why I've gone for it. Same odds as well, 1.75.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? If like you say, if Huddersfield can keep it tight for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, and it's still 0-0, the fans will start getting on their back, and who knows what will happen. Right, let's go back down south. Let's talk about the game between Watford and Stoke. Now, this for me, I don't know about you. I know you mentioned, Dan, just now that Klopp could be in a little bit of trouble, but I actually think Mark Hughes is in humongous trouble. I think if they lose to Watford, then could he go? I mean,
possible. The Stoke fans aren't. Reading the Oatcake fans saying Stoke fans are saying, why didn't they get rid of him in August? The Stoke have had the nightmare of all starts. It wasn't until October they played a team that they finished above in the Premier League last season. They were only mid-table. So, they were just hard game after hard game after hard game. And Watford under Marco Silva look awesome. They really do. I know they're missing Robert Pereira. Is it Robert Pereira, the striker? Yeah, he's injured. But they've only won once at home in the Premier League all season. Which kind of surprised me because Marco Silva had a great home record with Hull City last season, didn't they? But I know that he's been saying that this is the kind of build on the Chelsea game. They might have lost, but they played really well against Chelsea. Build on that, do something for the fans. Watford to win at home, 1.99. I think this is the death knell for Mark Hughes. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I think Watford will win and Stoke will win him.
Yeah, I've gone for the same as you, Dan. Watford to win at 1.99. Like you mentioned, I know you say Pereira's out, but they've actually had 10 different goal scorers so far this season. So they seem to be getting goals from here, there, and everywhere at the minute. So, and against the Stoke side, who have won just 2 in 9, I know he hasn't done well for us at the moment, but I think Stoke are missing Arnautovic a little bit. And what they also need to consider this weekend is whether they start Peter Crouch, because I think if he can start, he could potentially cause Watford a lot of problems at the back because, he's got 3 goals in 2 starts so far this season. And they need to be having a think about what they want to achieve this weekend because Watford, I know, like you say, they've only won once at home, but they're in great form. Marco Silva's got them playing some great football, and I personally it's a massive game for Stoke. I don't see them winning it, and I potentially see Mark Hughes losing his job.
I agree with both of you. I've gone for exactly the same. Yeah. As much as I like Stoke, I think,
that's your team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is this is going to be a tough one for them, and I'm not too confident about them taking anything out of this game. I mean, they conceded the most goals of all from the Premier League. Even one more goal than Crystal Palace, which are bottom. They lack self-belief, and they're obviously not in good form. They've got they had difficult matches as downstairs, but still. So maybe it's just unlucky draw for them for the first half of the season, or for the first quarter of the season. But still, Watford are quite amazing. I mean, they totally deserved to win last week against Chelsea. Even without Pereira, if he doesn't play, which seems to be the case, quality, they've got self-belief, they've got a good manager who's just doing a really good job with the team. I've gone exactly for the same as you two guys, so Watford to win in 1.99.
Cool. All in agreement there. Well, let's hope that comes in. Moving on, we're going to the Midlands. West Bromwich Albion welcome the team that's in unbelievable form, Manchester City, to the Hawthorns. For me, I can't see anything else but a Man City win. West Brom are in terrible form. They've actually won only twice since they beat Arsenal in March, that's stretching 18 games, won 2 games. So as much as, I don't hear too much about West Brom during the week and stuff like that. So I kind of don't see that West Brom are in a lot of trouble. But just looking at the stats over the last few months, West Brom have got massive problems. No James Morrison, no Craig Dawson, they're both injured. And Johnny Evans and Gareth Barry, they come off injured against Southampton. So I don't know whether they'll be back fit to face Man City or not. They've lost the last 11 in a row versus Man City. And obviously Man City went there in the EFL Cup and the Carabao Cup early on in the season, won there 2-1. And for me, I actually think that City are going to run riot. So another stat I actually found was that in the last 11 wins in a row that obviously City have had over West Brom, in 9 of those, Manchester City have been leading at half-time. So my bet for this one is over 1.5 first half goals at 2.11.
Nice. Being from Birmingham, I've got lots of West Bromwich Albion friends. So I get to hear quite a lot of them moaning about Tony Pulis. They hate him. I'm not kidding. I can't believe he's, if you listen to my friends, I can't believe he's been in the job for so long, because they've been moaning about him for months and months and months. They're without winning the Premier League since August. 3 draws, 3 defeats. Like you say, Craig Dawson's injured. That's a big loss to the back.
Yeah.
They don't score goals unless they're from a free kick or corner. And they're up against a Man City side who scored 29 goals in 7 weeks. A Man City side who are literally on fire right now. I can't see. I think Man City are going to smash them. I know my West Brom fans think Man City are going to smash them. So I've gone for Man City -2 on the Asian handicap at 2.07. I think Man City get another 3 or 4 here easily.
What do you think?
And we all expect Man City to win, and I will not say likewise, because I can't see West Brom to take anything from this game. Absence in the back, he's not playing. Should Evans not start as well? Taking into consideration that this is not a game that West Brom need to win or take anything out of. This is a game they can come out and enjoy the game, do their best, and see what happens, because nobody expects them to do anything against City, especially in this form. So the level of pressure on them, I don't think that it's that big. They're in the standings. It's not great, but it could be worse. Obviously, the gaps are still small, so with 1 defeat, you can end up bottom almost. But having said that, I've gone for a surprising one for this game, because I think Man City will not keep going forever with like this. I mean, they will win this game most probably. I've gone for West Brom to score at least one goal at 1.83.
Interesting.
Just a bet against all logic, I would say, but yeah, coming from from what I said, that they can play with the mind free and see what happens. No pressure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. They've, like you say, they got nothing to lose, so why not? Why not go for it? Right, guys. Next game up. Let's go to the South Coast. Bournemouth against Chelsea. What are we thinking?
This is a tough game for Bournemouth. You look at their strike force. They're without Jermaine Defoe again. I think. I think he's still injured. King, the Norwegian, Josh King.
Yeah, he's got a dodgy back, I think. So I think
he's out as well. So they're going to have to play Callum Wilson in his first start for like how long? He played in midweek.
He scored as well, didn't he?
Yeah, one other player who scored midweek, I think, will get a game is their fullback Jack Simpson. He looked pretty good when he came on. When he started, you know, he's a young lad, and I think they'll look at give him another run. I mean, it's a game against Chelsea. There is, like Tom said with the Man City game, Albion Man City, they don't have much to lose. Chelsea, they're only missing Conte and Moses now. Drinkwater's fit. He played midweek.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play.
I don't think he will, and I'm wondering if they'll play Morata or Batshuayi with Champions League midweek. But I think Chelsea will go. You know, Chelsea look like they're going to start coming back now. You know, Conte came out fighting in the press conference today about Ancelotti, about Steve Holland. Don't know if you heard, but there was like apparently Chelsea players were texting Steve Holland, who used to work for Chelsea, now works for England, saying, we miss you. And Steve Holland had to go to Conte and say, no, this isn't true. This is not true at all. So Conte's really miffed. And I think it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go that it's going to translate on the pitch and Chelsea aren't going to perform, or, as what I think will happen, is that Chelsea will go out and rip Bournemouth a new one to show, that they can still do it and they are still behind their manager. So I'll go for the Asian handicap on this. Chelsea plus 1.5 at a massive 2.42. I know it's big odds, but we saw against Watford, you can't rule them out. Chelsea looks out of it. I remember talking to you and saying, my bet's going to come in, Watford 2-1 up, 20 minutes to go, but Chelsea came back and did them 4-2. You can't write them off. And now Batshuayi's finding the goal as well. You look at some of the strength in depth. Again, Conte's talking about the youngsters. He said that Ampadu had a great game in midweek. Musonda Jr., Kennedy looks like he's been rehabilitated. So they've got quite a bit of depth there now as well. So, yeah, Chelsea all the way.
Interesting. So are you sticking with Daniel?
This one, I agree with Daniel. Yeah. I have gone for this safe option of Chelsea to win at 1.62, but I agree with what Dan said. There are the two ways this can go, and I also lean towards the option that Chelsea will put a good performance into this game and make a result that will claim that they can still do it. Again, this is for Bournemouth. The situation is exactly what I said about the game before of West Brom against City. They have nothing to lose. There's no pressure on them. Neither how Chelsea got a Champions League game in midweek as well. But having said that, still, I believe that Chelsea's got the quality. It's going to be interesting if, like Dan said, if Morata will start or why. Things like this. But either way, I expect them to take all 3 points from the game.
Yeah. I'm completely in agreement with you two. I've actually gone for -1 on the Asian handicap for Chelsea at 1.89. I just can't see beyond them. Like you say, Josh King's injured, so if Defoe's injured as well, then that's a complete blow for Bournemouth. And I think the fact that Bournemouth like to play football, I think that will benefit Chelsea as well. They've won the last 4, won 4 of the last 5 away at Bournemouth. And Hazard's actually scored 4 in 4 against Bournemouth. So if anyone's listening that has a fantasy Premier League team, then it might be worth going with him as captain this weekend. That's certainly what I'll be doing. But you got Begovic against his old club. I think if the only thing that might stop Chelsea scoring a load of goals, it could be Begovic, because he might have a point to prove. But yeah, another random stat that I found regarding Chelsea is that 53 of Chelsea's goals since the start of the 16-17 season have been scored by Spanish players, and that is more than 22 of 23 teams in La Liga during that time, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, just a random stat, but I thought that was an amazing stat. The only team to score more goals via Spanish players in La Liga than Chelsea is Athletic Bilbao. But yeah, for me, Chelsea -1, Asian handicap at 1.89. Right, let's move on to Sunday's games. The early kickoff on the South Coast at the MX. It's Brighton against Southampton.
This one was a real bugger to pick. It's one of those games where I just look at it and I'm like, don't fancy this. Brighton unbeaten and 3 at home. Southampton 1 defeat and 3 away, although their form's pretty naff. And it's like, I don't know. I'll just stick it on the draw. That's exactly what I've done. I think that's your strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I've done.
Yeah, the draw at 3.08. It's like, yeah, I have no idea. Draw.
Yeah, this is one of the games you want to predict, to be honest. It's one of those games gets better. The best advice is to stay away from such games. Obviously, Brighton will be motivated after that. Good win against West Ham. Southampton, yeah, 1-0 last week against West Brom. Nothing special, to be honest, for me. I've gone for Brighton plus 0.25 Asian handicap, which means that the prediction wins by half stake if it's a draw, or if they win, it's a full win. The odds are 1.73.
Interesting.
And it actually, sorry, just to add, I would completely agree with it. Can very easily end in a draw.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. I think it will be a draw. It's one of those I can't call it either way, and both teams are in okay form. Brighton obviously done us 3-0 at the London Stadium last Friday night, and Brighton played well. I don't know whether it was more of a case of Brighton were amazing or we were really, really bad. I think it's probably the latter. We were really, really bad. But credit to Brighton, they came with a game plan, and Glenn Murray was an absolute handful. And if he starts, which I think he will against Southampton, then Southampton could have problems this weekend. But for me, I think they need to start scoring goals, Southampton. That's for sure. And who saw Southampton's goal last weekend, that Buffal? Did anyone see that?
Yeah, I did.
That was unbelievable. Probably will be goal of the season. It was an incredible goal. And I think for their sake, he needs to start, which I think he will, personally. But the worry for me is that Shane Long, they need to score goals. They've got to come from somewhere. Shane Long, they keep persisting with Shane Long instead of Gabbiadini. But Long's not scored in the last 26 games for club and country, which I find incredible. But yeah, I've gone for the draw at 3.06 I got. So a little bit less than you, Dan. And yeah, it's actually Chris Hughton's 100th Premier League game on Sunday. So he'll enjoy that with a point. Right. The late game, the 4 o'clock kickoff UK time on Sunday, is at the King Power. And it's that team that David Unsworth manages now. Everton travel to Leicester. What are we thinking?
Claude Puel's first game as Leicester manager as well, isn't it? It's a really interesting one because you've got Claude Puel first game for Leicester. David Unsworth's first Premier League game. He managed the Carabao Cup game midweek as well.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, so Leicester, I don't know too much about their side, what they're going to put out. I think Rob Hugh's still out injured.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
I can see them going back to Vardy up front. Mahrez looked really good in midweek. He'll come back into the team, obviously. Although I think it's got to have done Slimani some good to get a goal. But I think we'll see Vardy and Nakazaki up front again.
Yeah.
I don't know what Everton are going to do because I watched bits of them against Arsenal, and like they took the lead. Flashback, wasn't it? Seeing Wayne Rooney score against Arsenal, and yeah, they had enough presence of mind to get a second when Petr Cech went for a wonder, but they just look so ropey at the back.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think it's going to be a game of goals. I think Leicester know that they need to win this if they're going to start getting anywhere. Everton know they've got to get something out of it. So over 2.5 goals at 1.86 looks a good looks a nice little bet to me.
Interesting. For me, I've actually, it's another one of those games where I'm not entirely sure which way it's going to swing. So I've gone straight down the middle for another draw at 3.40. Like say Claude Puel or Puel, however you pronounce it. Is it? I don't know. I don't think a lot of Leicester fans are really happy with that appointment, to be honest. But we'll see how he does. But then a lot of Leicester fans weren't happy with Ranieri to begin with, and look what happened there. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, only 2 clean sheets in 8 games for Leicester. Obviously, we all know how bad Everton are doing at the minute. But Idrissa Guey's back for them after being suspended in midweek. That'll be a pretty big boost for them. They obviously beat Leicester both home and away last season. So it's one of those. I honestly can't call it. So I've gone for the draw. A bit of a weird stat is that Leicester, they didn't win any game last season at all. They played on a Sunday. That's all 7. So we'll see how they get on Sunday this weekend. But it's the draw for me.
For me, this is one of the most difficult games to take something from or to judge this weekend, because obviously you've got new managers in charge. You don't know how the team will react, how they will change the game plans, tactics. You of course there are some expectations on both sides how they will shape up, but you never know how that's going to reflect on the pitch. Everton's been, for me, the biggest disappointment so far this season.
Yeah.
Given the signings they have made and the players they have in their squad, it's just very, very surprised how they play so far, and it cannot get much worse than that. Leicester, obviously, I would say they can be better. They can be even worse. It can go even both ways for me. However, I agree with Dan that I expect some goals in this game, but I've gone for Leicester to score more than 1.5 goals. And the odds are, give me a sec. The odds are 2.01, so quite good odds. Given the quality the Leicester have up front and the recent sloppy defending from the Everton defense, well, this can easily go through.
Yeah. No, I see where you've gone for that. But yeah, I was going to say, if you can't call it, and you've predicted that Leicester are going to score at least 2 goals, so it could well be a 2-2 or 3-3 thriller.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final game of the weekend. It's on Monday night. It's at Turf Moor, and it's Burnley against Newcastle. For me, it's 7th versus 8th, so they're both having a pretty good start to the season, to be honest. It's tough. Newcastle are in good form. don't get me wrong. Rafa Benitez is doing a great job there. However, Burnley are just too good at home. All right, we should have beaten Burnley the other week at Turf Moor, but Andy Carroll obviously got sent off for a stupid elbow on Ben Mee, I think it was. Second yellow card, and we ended up drawing that game. However, I just don't think Newcastle have the physical presence to cause Burnley too many problems in the air. And it's, for me, I just think Burnley I'll have too much for Newcastle. And they've not lost to Newcastle in any of the last 8 meetings. And the pair, there's been a lot of standout performances in the Premier League so far this season. But for me, right up there for me is the defensive pairing of Ben Mee and that Tarkowski guy they got from Brentford. I've been very, very impressed with their centre-back pairing. And although Tom Heaton, yes, he's injured, but Nick Pope, I still don't rate Nick Pope personally, but I think Ben Mee and Tarkowski at centre-backs will have more than enough for Newcastle and will keep them out. So I've gone for a narrow Burnley win at 2.86.
I think it's interesting. You said about Burnley having a good home record, and the fact it's 7th versus 8th, because the actual fact is neither of them are in good form when it comes to so Burnley have won once in 4 Premier League home games this season. They've won once, drawn twice, lost once. Newcastle have won once in 3 Premier League away games this season. Once in 4 Premier League games away this season. 1 win, 1 draw, 2 defeats. But the stat that really stands out for me, Burnley don't score goals. In the last 8 games Burnley have played, they've not scored more than 1 goal in any of those games. They've only scored 6 in 8 games. And clearly the bookies agree with me, because I looked at under 2.5 goals and the odds are really miserly, 1.56.
Wow, that is short.
It's really short, but the reason it's really short is because it's really likely to happen. Because you look at Newcastle and you take out the Southampton result, they've only scored 1 goal away from home all season in the Premier League. Newcastle United don't score that many goals. Burnley certainly don't. So it's like, this is going to be a very tight game, and I'm not sure who's going to win, but under 2.5 goals is not value. I just think it's one that's actually going to win.
Interesting. Who's going to start up front? Because I heard, obviously, is it going to be Chris Wood or Sam Vokes, do you reckon? I
reckon we would. Chris Wood is a really strange player. I remember him at Birmingham City. He scores goals, and that's about all he does.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's what you want in a striker, and sometimes you want a little bit more. I don't know if you remember Darren Bent.
Who can forget Darren Bent?
There was a season where he scored 24 for Sunderland, and he had 1 assist.
Wow.
And that's what Chris Wood's like. He'll score goals, but he won't do anything else.
Yeah, he's one of those players that, even though he's in the worst position possible, will get a shot away rather than passing it.
Yeah. And he's just got an otherworldly sort of a skill at hitting the back of the net. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know how he does it, but that's why Burnley paid 15 million for him.
True. Tom, what are you thinking?
I'll take it from what Dan said. I don't expect many goals. It's going to be a tough battle, this one. None of the teams score too many goals. So, yeah, I looked through the market to find value. I found market to both teams to score, no, at 1.74. So, yeah, at least one of the teams not to score.
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. And yeah, this game actually marks 5 years in charge for Sean Dyche as well. So yeah, that's a pretty good milestone considering the hire and fire nature of the Premier League these days.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
He's been linked with Everton, hasn't he?
Well, I was going to say, does anyone think he'll actually go soon to a bigger club?
I don't think he'll go to Everton. I think he must know that Everton is not going to be the right job for him. Everton's a bit of a poison chalice, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would stay away from that. He's in a good role at Burnley. He's a big fish in a little pond. He's in a team that's punching above their weight. Stick with it. Stick with the project you've got and the players you've got, and this team you've built up over a few years, and stay there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Thanks very much for your time. Guys, thanks for listening. We will be back on Tuesday evening because there's Champions League action and Europa League action this week. So we'll be back next week for some more stats and predictions.